forecasting the future. So let's get started. We all know about the origins of HODL, or what HODL is. It's this guy's Bitcoin talk post. He essentially couldn't trade, right? So you have to, he was like buying at the top, selling at the bottom. It was not working out for him, so he decided, let me just HODL, right? And that's created this kind of mentality in Bitcoin that it's okay to just not spend Bitcoin, right? Oh, there's some bugs with the slides. Is this okay? Oh, yeah? Okay, next? Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, so some little bit of cutoff there, but yeah, originally Bitcoin, people were trading it, and then they said, okay, let's not trade it, let's just use it as a store of value, as a digital gold. Then it kind of transformed into this never spend ideology, right? Michael Saylor kind of saying that, okay, yeah, as a corporation, it's not, good to spend Bitcoin. We're just going to hold it as a treasury asset. And now we've kind of enforced this idea that spending Bitcoin is like minus EV on your, game theory-wise. And this really happens because like you have this number go up ideology, right? Of like Bitcoin is always going to increase in value. And that creates this FOMO, right? Like you want to get the benefits of that price appreciation. And so you HODL, right? You don't spend your Bitcoin. Rather, you would spend fiat currency. Oh my goodness. Maybe, yeah, okay. Can you go next? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Bitcoin has a lot of growth, right? This is a chart of a log chart of Bitcoin price, and it reflects a very strong correlation which resembles a power law. And this power law has an R-squared value of 0.96. It's a better correlation than the entire field of neuroscience, the entire field of psychology. This is very strong. If you've taken an AP stats class or like an introduction to statistics class, this is exactly what the statistics teacher or prof would want to see in a kind of experiment, a really strong correlation. And there are people who use this professionally to trade on Bitcoin price, but that's not the point of this model. The point is that it's actually kind of reasonable to hold Bitcoin as digital gold. Bitcoin kind of has product market fit as digital gold right now. In terms of every other asset, Bitcoin is all these assets are depreciating in price. And that's really nice if you hold Bitcoin, right? We're at an all-time high. Why would you want to spend Bitcoin? Why would you want to buy Bitcoin as someone who doesn't own Bitcoin and then spend it on something that you could use fiat currency for, right? What's the actual positive benefit? Yeah. Yeah, back. Can you go back? And then forward one? Yeah. Oh, forward? What? No. Okay, yeah. So, as a money, right, Bitcoin is digital cash. There's a store of value component, there's a medium of exchange component, and there's a unit of account component, right? Digital cash. Bitcoin is peer-to-peer digital cash. Now, that was what Satoshi intended, but what actually ended up happening? Well, the product market fit of Bitcoin currently is as a store of value. It is a digital gold, it's a savings technology. We have ETFs, we have people who are buying and holding, they're never selling, and that's a bit of a problem. Okay, let's see if, yeah, and forward one. So the network effect of fiat is really strong. There's entrenched infrastructure, right? If you're talking about doing any sort of startup or a company or innovating on a new technology, you have to compete with other available technologies, and that means competing with a network effect, right? So fiat has widespread trust, there's really high switching costs for users, and there's widespread familiarity, right? People are already doing transactions in fiat all of the time, so what's the big urge to switch, right? Switching costs means friction, means people learning new things, means people risking their financial assets, their wealth, to actually onboard to a new financial system which they don't understand, and that creates risk for people, it creates anxiety. Yeah, and so the network effect of Bitcoin, it's growing, right? And the power law is data-driven evidence of this, right? All networks, whether it's a telecommunications network, a social network, they generally grow according to power laws, and Bitcoin is no different. Now, the difficulty here is there's high friction for new users, right? There's a risk of loss through error. If you screw up, you lose your seed phrase, you know, you're done, right? You've lost your money. And right now, currently, throughout most of the world, there are limited daily use cases to actually use Bitcoin as digital cash to transact and settle debts with people. And so there's this medium of exchange paradox that we have going on, right? Fiat works really well. People stick to familiar systems. This hodl mentality and price appreciation discourages spending. Number go up creates FOMO. And most people are not really in tune with like the underlying knowledge that Bitcoin is supposed to be used as this new freedom technology, freedom money, where you can settle debts without an intermediary, right? So here's the thing. When Bitcoin competes with fiat, there's so many obstacles to overcome, right? It's really difficult to get someone to switch from a fiat payment to a Bitcoin payment. Like how many people here bought their flights with Bitcoin or bought their flights with fiat, right? Probably, I'm guessing, more people at this conference bought flights with fiat than with Bitcoin. But you could use like Travala to purchase a flight with Bitcoin, and that's possible, but you might be discouraged from spending because you want to hold. However, if fiat doesn't work, then Bitcoin becomes your only solution, and that means Bitcoin is really good. It's infinitely better, right? Because if you cannot conduct a fiat transaction, and you can conduct a Bitcoin transaction, Bitcoin is infinitely better. The network effect totally dissolves for fiat because fiat doesn't work. And then you can actually have true peer-to-peer digital cash where you can spend Bitcoin freely to another party. Next, please. So truly, necessity is the mother of adoption, right? Something needs to be necessary in order for it to, people to convert to it, right? Personally, when I first started using Bitcoin, it was so that I could purchase Bitcoin through Coinbase, deposit into Zelle, and then use Zelle to deposit into PokerStars, and then play poker where it wasn't allowed, right? So I was using Bitcoin to conduct a transaction where fiat didn't work. That's an order of magnitude better, right? So if we have use cases where fiat clearly fails, then Bitcoin becomes a major lifeline to people, and that's really important. Next, please. So historically, right, when we talk about the major success cases of Bitcoin, it was really successful when it was the only option available, right? So we're talking like early days, there was Silk Road, there's WikiLeaks, and there's also like funding resistance groups, right? When the fiat money doesn't work, then Bitcoin becomes way better. Bitcoin becomes infinitely better. And then now people can spend Bitcoin, right? It's not just a savings tool, it's a digital cash to create a new digital economy. Next, please. And so that's why I think prediction markets are a really good use case. You know, we tried setting up a prediction market using Stripe, going like with a compliant, regulated way. It didn't work, right? Bitcoin works here because it allows the payments to flow. It allows them to flow freely when people want to. And prediction markets as a concept are a novel use case for money. It's using money as speech. Speech to communicate conviction, right? It's not so much a virtue signal that you can just spout on Twitter and then have arguments with people, but it's really committing your value. And that value signal is much stronger intelligence than just being able to communicate with words, right? And prediction markets, okay, yeah, this works. So there's benefits for both sides for people, right? For users, people can express conviction by placing a bet on whatever side they think is going to win. And this is a novel use case for capital itself, right? We couldn't operate prediction markets in the past because no bank would allow a money transfer to do that. No credit card will allow people to spend money in this way. But with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, that's possible. And then because it's possible, that means it's an order of magnitude better as an application of Bitcoin to facilitate commerce. for society, there's this positive externality that, it's different from, let's say, a regular casino or a gambling market or just placing a bet with someone, because the way that a prediction market works is it aggregates all of the different bets that are placed in a market, and then those bets are used to create a probability of an event occurring, right? So you don't need to be betting in a prediction market to benefit from the positive externalities of looking at the data, right? Polymarket was huge and in predicting the US election, but not so many people bet on Polymarket. They had a sizable amount, but you were able to infer these new ideas or see into the future because people were able to express their conviction. And again, it's something that fiat currency cannot do. And this is exactly what Bitcoin needs in order to actually be adopted for a spending use case. So if we want to build to catalyze Bitcoin adoption, we need to focus on use cases where fiat fails, right? If fiat is really good, then why would people switch? If you're building a company, you're building a product, you're building a service, you're building whatever, and then it's really easy for you to do that on fiat, then you're competing with something that has an entrenched network effect. And that's really difficult. That's like one of the most challenging things ever. And that's why VCs love tech companies, because they have network effects that create moats, that create defensibilities, and then that make it really difficult for other companies, products, and services to compete with. And when it comes to fiat currency, this is the mechanism which central bankers use to control the world, essentially. So it has the highest moat ever, right? They don't want people to compete on the currency stage. They don't want Bitcoin to compete. And if Bitcoin is going to compete, it needs these novel use cases, right? So the key things that to keep in mind as we build on Bitcoin is we need to make onboarding simple, super safe. Lightning is great, scalability is great. Having instant settlement is a priority. If you're actually doing a Bitcoin transaction for commerce, you don't want to wait 30 minutes for 3 confirmations and look at the mempool to see if your transaction is confirmed. You need that instant settlement so that you can go on with your business, right? So Lightning is great, and people shouldn't just be hodling, right? The idea, the culture of just hodling Bitcoin, that's not healthy for the ecosystem itself. It's great to save, right? Saving money is good, but not spending is not good, right? Because then you're only living in the fiat economy. It doesn't, like, we can hate on CBDCs, but if you're just spending fiat all day, then that's basically the same thing. You're using the traditional financial system, and it's like not really much of a difference. Now, other areas besides prediction markets is we can target cross-border commerce with Bitcoin. Of course, there's censorship-resistant services, but again, those operate in legal gray or black areas. And digital native products, right? That's what I'm really excited about, is these digital native services, digital native products that can enable new use cases with digital currency that is not as so simple as, let's say, spending money on coffee, right? Or even buying a house. Like, it's just being able to use it on a daily basis for general transactions, right? One more? Yeah. So in conclusion, Bitcoin adoption thrives when we're solving for real problems, right? Bitcoin is just a technology, right? So we need to build on top of it with products and services so that people can actually use it, right? It's there, but are people going to be using it to spend? That's up to us, right? The best opportunities are where fiat falls short, right? If fiat is working really well, then you're going to have a tough time convincing people who are even Bitcoiners to switch from their traditional way of doing things, because they just need to do something new. It's difficult to do new things, and that's really annoying. One of the most important things is having good UX. If it's the way that Bitcoin prediction market has been spreading is friends telling their friends about it. And that is really how all products spread, right? That's how Bitcoin spread. It's the network effect. It's people love it, and then they tell their friends about it. If we're going to achieve this on a broader scale with many different products, many different services, then the UX needs to be super simple. Simple enough for like a drunk person to use. Then friends can tell their friends about it at a party, right? And prediction markets, in my opinion, represent a frontier for how Bitcoin could be used to integrate with all the other ideas in the space in the world and facilitate a new future on this digital economy. So, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.